Good evening, it's Rob and Mark from TetraKey again, coming to you with episode number 17 now of however many it is we're doing in 260 that we're doing in 2017. Forgive us for a bit vague today, it's been a super long day for us. And tonight we're going to talk about the critical importance of accelerated action. So this year we're going to give you almost 3,000 minutes or 44 plus hours of free business coaching insight, thought leadership and things that you can do to be immensely successful this year. Mark, what are people's tickets to the game to take part in this?
Very, very simple. They have to like,
yeah.
And they have to share these with all their friends, and they have to download our book, which is called
The Profitable You to Unstoppable Success.
Exactly.
So ebook, the link for the ebook is in the title of this Facebook live session, and as I said, click like, click share, and if you really want to go and be amazing, you can go and invite your friends to like the TetraKey page.
Yep.
And that would be absolutely superb because you would be demonstrating to them and your clients how seriously you are on making massive successful gains for yourself in 2017. So this concept of, and this critical important concept of accelerated action, what are we really talking about? Well, have you ever had that experience where you've had an idea and as you're progressing towards that idea, things seem to take some time, and for every one thing that takes a minute out of you, suddenly 5 minutes disappear. And time evaporates in front of you, and often you then get caught up in this negative cycle of self-talk. You know, the am I good enough? Maybe it won't work. Whatever else, and chances are when that happens to you, it just doesn't work. So Mark, why else should people be considering this concept of accelerated action?
I actually share a funny one. We've just, as our little downtime, we allowed ourselves to watch the latest episode of MasterChef. So being South Africa, we're a little bit behind, so please don't tell us who wins. We've got semi-final stage now. But one of these ladies in the semi-final was cutting up tuna. And she was spending so much time and getting so emotional about the shape of the tuna. And the mentor was actually saying, just get it done. Your time is critical, just get it done. So it's all about thinking, what difference was it going to make for her to spend all that time getting it to be a perfect rectangular shape versus actually the challenge finishing and her having nothing to put up on the show. So it's just making sure that you're thinking about the longer term benefit of the short term time that you're spending.
Exactly. I mean, if you look about starting something, the thing is that you will never be good enough to start something. There will always be something more you can learn, something more you can do, and you will always have a moment of self-doubt. I think back to my time and career as a whitewater kayaker, and I'm sat above a whitewater rapid looking at it, and something hard, something that if you screwed it up could kill you. And there's a thing that we always joked about, that the quantity of time spent analysing the rapid was directly proportional to the quantity of time you spent getting your backside kicked in the rapid. That over-analysing always produced negative outcomes. So I mean, what do we do in terms of accelerated action?
I think there's some interesting ideas we've taken. So there's a phenomenal book by a guy called Stephen Sample called A Contrarian's Guide to Leadership, and he talks about the concept of thinking grey. And I apply this with my 7-year-old boy, and I apply this with my clients, I apply this to the businesses that we run. So as most kids do, they want some bit of structure, they want you to know, they want to know what's going to happen, they want to know what could happen or could not happen if something changes. So the question and the thing I always say to my boy is, Seth, we'll make a plan. When, Daddy? We'll make a plan when we have to make a plan. We'll put the time and effort into doing something when we really need to. So thinking grey is not about thinking black or white, it's not thinking with the confounds of the predetermined spheres that you're operating in. It's thinking when you need to think. It's the accelerated actions that's going to drive you to success. And it's breaking it down to chunks that actually make a difference. I don't know if you guys out there have seen a film called Hacksaw Ridge. Probably one of the best movies I've seen in a long, long time.
And it's the 5th time today he's mentioned it.
Oh, I would watch it again and again and again. I'm not going to spoil it for you guys out there, but there's a part where he has to motivate himself to do something extraordinary. And he is literally asking for support, and he's using his faith to drive him forward. And he's asking, help me get one more. So it's the concept of getting up. And we all know, if you do 20 press-ups, and someone says, you have to do one more, we could do one more. Mentally, we could do one more. But if someone says you have to do another 20, it's a little bit more of a psychological challenge for us.
Exactly. And we've experienced some of this personally, and we take accelerated action and this concept and put it into everything that we do, because it dramatically increases our performance. And the book that, by the way, you can download for free off the link in the thing here, I'll get it there. If you think about the concept of writing a book, there's this monstrous chunk of stuff that has to get done. I mean, what will the cover look like, and what will we call it, and who will do what, and is it going to be long enough? Are people going to like it or not? Etc, etc, etc. Whereas when you chunk it down to, well, we need a cover, and we need a name, we need to have introduction and a conclusion and 7 chapters, and each chapter needs a theme, and you start chunking it down and then start apportioning time to each one of those. I mean, coming up with the name of a book takes 20 minutes, maybe half an hour. And each one of those tasks takes quite a small amount of time. In fact, even writing the book takes a small amount of time. And so if you were to apportion a time frame to the whole task, you may well say it's going to take 3 months to write this book. But actually, when you then chunk it into its incremental smaller parts and allocate a specific time frame to each part, suddenly the book is done in 3 days, not in 3 months, or 3 weeks if you're writing a longer book, not in 3 months. And you've just accelerated your own path to success, miles ahead of anybody who will think about this big and get stuck in this big picture, and will start saying about how long or how hard it may well be.
Yeah, we went through this process last night. So before our Facebook Live session, Rob and I had an execution catch-up, performance acceleration catch-up, where we looked at our tasks that we need to deliver over the next
2 weeks.
Yeah, and we chunked it up in terms of, right, Rob, what are you doing? Mark, what are you doing? What are you taking accountability for? What are you taking accountability for? Right, next week we'll catch up. And I actually spent 4 hours today with a client, and we've created these 100-day sprints. So, and again, this is a slightly bigger business, it's a bigger corporate, which has 5,000 people working for it. But just challenging them to go, well, let's not think about a 12-month strategy. We have to have a 12-month direction, but we're going to have a 100-day sprint. Where are we going to be compared to target within the next 100 days? And what do we need to do that we can measure on a week by week, month by month basis that's going to ensure that we know what we're driving is going to give us that success?
Well, what this also does is it acts as a sanity check to you. You know that you can control a huge amount of what you do, but nevertheless there's external factors that come in and impact on what you do. And if you work in the same way that 99% of the rest of the world works, which is in these big chunks of months, years, however long it may be, you don't know who it is that's impacting maybe negatively on your experience in business or in life, because you don't know whether it's your pace of action that's going negatively against you or whether it's the other people's. And we sit in this sort of pointing in both directions thing. Whereas if you're working to a timeline, you're working to very, very specific small tasks, you can then start seeing, well, other people meeting their own timelines. In fact, we've had sorry if you're watching, we've had a meeting cancelled tomorrow morning for the 3rd time.
6:30 was cancelled for a 9 o'clock meeting tomorrow morning.
For a 9 o'clock meeting tomorrow morning. It's out of our control, but here's the thing, we are 150% prepared for what we were supposed to be doing tomorrow morning, and we now know in our sanity check that actually we've done 100% of everything we could do to make that happen, and actually now it's out of our control until that person chooses to rediary that meeting, along with maybe a bit of cajoling from us and us along the way.
I think also what we need to remember as well, the whole purpose of this breaking down to small chunks and accelerated change is business owners, small business owners, even people running big businesses, it can be a lonely place. And also, we've got to think about how we are motivated. Now, we know if you can break down something, and I got so motivated last night just by spending that 2 hours with Rob, looking at our execution plan, I had such clarity about what we were doing. And you go to bed going, fantastic, my brain is decluttered, I'm motivated, I'm excited about what's going to happen the next day. So you've got to think about what is it that you need that's going to motivate you to get up in the morning and drive your business even harder. And I would just advise you to think about breaking those things down into smaller chunks that enables you to realise when you've delivered and achieved something, because that's where the dopamine kicks in. It kicks in when we know we've delivered something, we've achieved something, and we're actually proud of ourselves. And sometimes we're in a lonely space, there's no one else there to give us that sense of congratulations, well done. So you've got to look after your needs and wants.
So what we're effectively doing is we're tricking that unconscious part of our brain that offers the negative self-talk on occasions. We're tricking it, we're not giving it time to engage, because we're going from one thing to the next thing to the next thing, always succeeding. And that bit of the brain doesn't get time to get going. And by the time it wants to say, oh, I don't know if you can manage it, it's too late because you've already managed it. And so there's some little thoughts on this concept of accelerated action. The more you can get done in the shortest time frame logically says the furthest you'll be ahead of your competition and the closer you'll be to achieving your goals. In fact, taking this methodology will see TetraKey achieving its 2020 goals in 2017 this year, as well as what I'm looking at the moment, a whole bunch of other stuff as well. So if this has been relevant to you, please click like, please click share, please invite your friends to come and do this. And don't wait for some time, take action now. It takes a few seconds to do something, and let's go and just use those few seconds. So click like, click share, invite friends. This is probably the last time we'll see Mark for maybe a week or so.
We shall see.
We shall see. He may do a Facebook Live session on his own next week from sunny Durban in South Africa. But it's been a pleasure serving you this evening. And anything else closing from you?
Just think of the one thing, when you go to bed tonight, think of the one thing that you've achieved today that makes you smile, makes you proud, and have that as your last thought before you close your eyes.
Perfect. Have a great day. Be amazing. We'll see you in just under 24 hours' time. Good night.